In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut this stylish underbust flay gown. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So to draft this pattern, we are going to work on the upper part. So here is my shoulder to bust, my shoulder to under bust, and my shoulder to waist. Now you're going to get the full length of your dress and you're going to deduct your shoulder to waistline first, and that is where we are marking. Now at the top, mark your shoulder divided by 2, come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. Now I'm going to go ahead to mark my basic neckline of 3 inches before going ahead to connect this all the way to my shoulder slope. Now after I'm done connecting, the next step I'm going to take is to find my chest line, and to get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line on this part. After I'm done marking that, what I'll do is to go ahead to place my tape and mark my shoulder divided by 2 again, place my ruler and draw out a straight line. The next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to divide my armhole into 2 equal parts. That is to find the midpoint of my armhole. The midpoint I'll come out by ½ inch, and here I'll place my tape and mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now I'll connect this all the way down and connect it to my bust circumference divided by 4. Now go ahead to outline to make it more visible for you to see. So the next step I'm going to take from here is to go ahead to mark my dart. And to mark your dart, you need to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. Now my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. Then I'll rule a straight line at that point. The next step is to go ahead to mark your dart. For my dart, I'm marking a basic dart intake of ½ inch on both sides. I'll also mark that at the under bust, and I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the bust before going ahead to mark. Now I'll just go ahead to connect this all the way up. So why I marked the ½ inch on the under bust is so that I can easily blend out my pattern at the under bust area. So I'll start inserting my measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Go ahead to add any sewing allowance of your choice. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll measure the dart intake I have, replace and add a sewing allowance to it. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake, replace it and add my sewing allowance. Now whatever dart intake you take out, make sure you replace it, because of you're going to blend out your dart and you're going to sew it up at the upper part. Now I placed my ruler to connect. I also went ahead to draw out a straight line at that part. So after marking this, from this my basic neckline, I'll mark 3.5 inches. Then at the under bust area, I'll outline it. So after outlining that part, I'm going to start coming in by the 3.5 inches from the measurement at the neckline. You can also use 3 inches, right? Come in by ½ inch here, and I'll go ahead to use my pencil to outline this part. So this is what I have, and I'll go ahead to outline. Now you notice the neckline is not also straight. That is why I made it a little curvy. Now for the extension here, I'll mark 2 inches for the shoulder first, and then we are going to blend it in. You can use 2 inches, 1.5, whatever that is okay for you, and I'll blend this into the armhole this way. Now after doing this, I'll come down by 1 inch. There's a little basque there. I'll just connect this and connect to the side of my pattern. At the upper part of the neckline, you're going to add an extension which you're going to join to make this a backless dress. So for extension, you need about 3.5 to 4 inches, because a basic neckline is about 3 inches by 1 or 3 inches by 4. So when you measure it, what will give you is 3.5 inches, or it will give you 4 inches. So now I marked out about 4 inches. Now if you're not comfortable with the 4 inches, you can reduce it to 3.5 inches, right? So this is the neckline measurement for the extension at the back. Go ahead to tape it. So when I'm drafting the back, I'll also be explaining this extension too. So I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern, and at this point, if you have any question, please go ahead to leave it at the comment section, and if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead to subscribe. So after cutting this, you're going to go ahead to sew up your dart at this side, right? And for the under bust area, you can blend in your dart or you can sew in your dart. So what we have there was actually joined, so you can go ahead to cut yours into two and join it back. Now let's move over to the back pattern of this dress. This is the back pattern. I marked my shoulder to bust and my shoulder to waist. We have a zipper at the back, so your zipper can be 1.5 to 2 inches. I've already gone ahead to mark my chest line, my bust and waist. The only difference between the front and the back is that we have a zipper at the front, we have a zipper at the back pattern, while we don't have a zipper at the front pattern at this point, right? So here I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches by 1. So I'll still go ahead to measure this to show you how I got that back extension. So what you do is to go ahead to place your tape. You see this back extension we have here, measure what we have here now. You notice that we have roughly 3.5 inches. If I extend the neckline to about 3 by 1.5 inches, the total measurement we have there is 4 inches. So that is how we got the extension for the back. Now what I'll do is to go ahead to mark the dart. So for the dart for the back, you still start after your zipper, which you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2, which gives me 3.5. I marked and drew out a straight line there. Now I'll just mark a basic dart intake of 1/2 inch on both sides. After marking that, I'm just going to go ahead to extend this. While extending, I'll come down a bit and it doesn't get to the bust. Now I'll insert my bust circumference divided by 4 and I'll add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake I have here, replace and add my sewing allowance. Now after I'm done marking this, I'm just going to go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to connect. Now after I'm done connecting, I'll outline my chest line because the back is a backless pattern. I'll come in by 1/2 inch here and I'll extend this all the way up. This is to get rid of the zipper bulge at the back of the dress. Now after marking this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out. So after cutting this, when you're making this dress, you can decide to sew up your dart, or if you're the type that doesn't like sewing that, you can blend it out and cut out. So now what you do to measure round your waistline, right? So let's say the total waistline of this dress, like when you're making the dress, you're going to join the front to the back, then take a round measurement of the waistline plus the zipper allowance, right? So whatever you have, you're going to cut it in form of a flay. So let's say I'm cutting this in form of a 360-degree flay. So I'll be using this easier method. I'll fold my pattern into 2. Then what I'll do is to fold it into 4. That is the first fold and then this second one. So when you fold it this way, you notice that you have a closed line at both sides of your pattern. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead to place my ruler this way. So what the measurement you need here is your round waist measurement plus your zipper allowance. Let's say my round waist is 14 inches plus extra 1 inch on both sides for the zipper to give me 16. Now that 16, you're going to divide it by 4. So if you divide 16 by 4, it will give you 4 inches. So that 4 inches, I'll use it, make a semicircle this way and follow that semicircle and draw it out. Place your tape from the top to where you have that semicircle, and now take that measurement you have at that point. You now use it and make a round circle. While you're making the second circle is to make sure that your circle aligns, like is a proper round circle. The first one you make might not be really round or is more like a sketch. So from here you place and then mark the full length of your dress. So when you're marking the full length of your dress, that is from the waist to the lower part, the remaining part, add like your folding allowance and your joining allowance to the upper part. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark this all the way around, and I'm going to connect it. That is the remaining length of your dress. Mark it in form of a circle, then go ahead to cut it out this way, and go ahead to also cut out the upper part. So after cutting out, this is what I have. Then you go ahead to slit one side open and then add it to the lower part of the waistline of the skirt, and we are done with the drafting.